3 races, 1 caution. Indycar really is making me work hard for content this year, with us now exceeding the record for most laps without a case of brain failure. Surely that's all about to change as the sport heads to round 4 at Barber Motorsports Park. This, of course, was the scene of pure chaos in 2024. We had Georgina falling onto the track, stripping in the process, and then booking herself a one-way ticket to the Paralympics. And let's not forget, possibly the hardest I've ever laughed making one of these videos, potentially ever. Indycar didn't feel the need to hand out a caution for the new paraplegic on the sidelines. So Stingray Rob decided that he'd be a good Samaritan and rip his steering wheel off instead. The best line I saw for this one came on X though, and credit here where credit's due. Stingray Rob saw that sex doll on the side of the track and his first ever boner sent him into the wall. Would we get a repeat then in 2025? Well, no, but we would get some chaos at least. Look, I'm really doing my watchtime a service with this intro, aren't I? You know what, let's just not waste any more time. There's plenty for that later. Just roll the titles already. News time then, and the big story of the week would of course be Scott McLaughlin's Georgina tribute on social media. Okay, no, it would be the Indy 500 test. We're into the month of May now, the big race is just around the corner, and that means it's time to watch some lunatics drive very fast in the circle for a few hours. One person who's a particular expert at driving in a circle was NASCAR legend Kyle Larson, back at the 500 for attempt 2 with the McLaren team, though as it turned out, he wasn't quite as good at driving in circles as he initially thought. Larson wouldn't be the only one in the wall. Graham Rahal seemingly spent the entire 2-day test trying to off himself, and then it was the turn of previous winner of the 500, Takuma Sato, who opted to bin it at the only point in the circuit where there wasn't any cameras. The selfish bastard. It was Alex Palou on top at the end of proceedings, because of course it was. The championship leader then headed into Barber with the sole aim of making the 2025 season even more boring. Thankfully, the weather had other plans, and as we waited for the rain to set in, the drivers were trying to make the most of a dry practice one at the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix. No, I'm not making that joke again. We of course didn't care about that. We were far more interested to know that Georgina was still overlooking the back straight. And there was also this sculpture, which must be inspired by that 100 men versus 1 gorilla meme going around at the moment. Can't wait to see that fall on the track come Sunday. Scott McLaughlin's had some good form here in the past, and since Penske had come into 2025 looking like f***ing idiots, that good form couldn't come soon enough. He'd have to wait for that though, spending most of practice 1 driving around like the rain had already arrived. Yet at what point do we file this under suicidal behaviour? Penske teammate Will Power has been the biggest casualty of his team's poor form, and he's now predicting he won't hold on to that seat for 2026. Unfortunately, the Australian wasn't helping himself when he tried out some retirement lawn mowing at turn 1, the team immediately opting to pull the 12 car in to avoid Will causing any more damage. With Bramer deciding this was the time to take inspiration from the elder statesman of the grid, Felix Rosenqvist was trying to dial himself in following a big testing crash here earlier in the season. That was at turn 1, so a huge congratulations to the Swede for getting about 100 metres further down the road this time around. As the 60 car excreted gravel all over the racing line then, it was countryman Marcus Ericsson leading the way as the clouds rolled in, and Havoc descended in FP2. Reigning champion Alex Palou took one look at the conditions, said "F*** that," and thought he'd sit this one out. Probably a sensible decision, given no more rain was forecast for the remainder of the weekend, though the rest of the field decided now would be a great opportunity for one of those dry tyres on a wet track challenges. That ended as one would expect. Pato Award deciding he didn't fancy the last corner and much preferred the cold embrace of a f***ing tyre wall. Also, somehow his car survived this impact. We'll put that up there with the Stingray miracle from last time out. When the track went back to green, it was friend of the show David Maluka setting the pace at the front, with still no signs of the Penskes or even Andretti's. Oh, actually speaking of, there's Ericsson doing his favourite thing in an Indy car, trying to end up upside down. Despite seeing this, drivers still thought these conditions were good enough for slicks, VK quickly ending up in the runoff, while Jacob wasn't able to keep his car on the road either. And oh look, even the dementia patient's getting in on the action. The lack of dry running then left the pecking order pretty open for interpretation as qualifying came about, and round 1 Group 1 was all about Will Power, finding new ways to make the session hard for himself. The driver of the number 12 had to lean on all his experience to progress in the end, making it through, but fellow series stalwart Scott Dixon wasn't so lucky. The Ganassi man deciding he wanted to try one of his last to first challenges as he opted to turn left to right-hand corner. The Premers were apparently challenging for the fast 12 though, which is a good joke, so nice one there Mr Buxton. That said, VK in the 18 Dale coin car was a surprise to see advance. Just imagine how shocked we were then to see the Dutchman go even better in round 2, bumping O'Ward out of the fast 6, while Seagull shit on his fellow McLaren teammates to squeeze in at the flag. Power topped that session though, with second turnaround of qualifying, a lot more positive than his first. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to maintain that performance in the battle for pole. That looked set to be a duel between the Andretti of Herta and the Penske of Scotty Mack. That was until Pelot did his typical Pelot thing of emerging from the f***ing shadow realm and snatched the P1 award away at the last minute. Given Alex has been able to dominate from far further back already this year, we were set up for a bit of a shit race, I'm not gonna lie. In better news, it was Star Wars Day, and that meant Darth Buxton here got to f*** around with a toy lightsaber instead of commentating morning warm-up, which was okay since piss all happened anyway. With that then, it was time for someone with more eyelashes than brain cells to give the command, and for the 27 cars to hit the Barber track in anger. Pelot confidently leading off the start as the field went 3 abreast into turn 1, and still couldn't bring out a caution because everyone's annoyingly sensible in 2025. Honestly, at this rate, I'm going to have to take the piss out of something else on the screen. No, Will, control yourself. The McLarens provided a lot of the early action, Seagull expending most of his talent in qualifying and acting as more of a bottleneck for his teammates in the opening stages. We also got an overtake attempt from Rasmussen here. That's cute, isn't it? Time for the extended highlights to jump ahead 15 laps then, which is always a good sign, and we were now in the early pit stop stages. McLaughlin coming in early to try something different against Pelot, who had apparently changed his difficulty settings, past easy and all the way down to Lance Stroll for this one. Fox were trying their best to keep their viewers engaged, claiming Pelot was sliding all over the track and in big trouble with his tyres. Yeah, so much trouble he's decided to stay out. The Spaniard would finally box on lap 23, coming ahead of Okay, we won't do that again. With that then, it was time for Fox advert break, number 5,400,071, which also meant it was time for something vaguely interesting to happen out there. Emphasis on the vaguely part though. Big Chunkers here, using his fat ass to hide his mate's almighty cock-up on Kirkwood's pit stop. We did in fairness have a decent battle shaping up for thirds. Christian Lundgaard on the move, lunging past O'Ward on cold tyres before treating Scott McLaughlin as a mobile chicane. Herta was in this leading battle as well.
Oh no! Not again! Oh!
Oh, never mind, I was wondering where that bottle had got to. Pit problems really were turning into the story of the day. Marcus Armstrong was having a decent race for Meyer Shank until his fueller's pull-out game rivaled your dad's. So the race settled down again and, oh, it's a car on the gravel. Oh, could this finally be a caution?
Then crept along by the side of the track and just kept it going.
Oh, for fuck. Final pit stops now, and it was Power versus O'Ward in the battle for 5th. In Pato's dreams anyway, in actuality it was the 12th car on the back of VK, who'd managed to remain up front by the power of the gods and his hatred for ECR for dropping him last season. He held on to 4th in the closing stages, and frankly is up there for my driver of the day, though getting tough competition from Alex Pelot, who came across the line to secure a perfect 3rd win in 4 races. And I know you lot want me to mention the championship standings at the end of these videos, but is there really much point? The one hope we had this season was the Spaniard's slightly worse quali pace. Now he seems to have worked that out, and yeah, God help the rest of us. Credit where credit's due though, that was a stunning performance, though the race on the whole is one that will likely not last in the memory that long. I'm still personally gutted I missed the LEGO F1 cars for this. If you enjoyed this video though, I'd appreciate you dropping it a like and getting subscribed. Indycar can be interesting, I swear, and as we head into the month of May, I do think that statement will finally come true. Big thank you to the members and patrons who got this video a day early, and if you want to help support me and the channel, head down to the links in the description below. I'll be back later in the week with another video. Until then, have a good one.